Hello, everybody. My name's Omar, and again, this is the mid-month, and so we do a show called about books, people who written books and inspirational people. And today we have Nick. You've seen her on LinkedIn. She'll talk about herself in a little bit. Well, basically, what this is going to be is anthology book and why we chose to be more than our diagnosis, and she's going to go ahead and talk about that and a couple of her friends who are going to be joining her as well in helping her writing the book as well. All right, so we'll see how this goes. Let's go ahead and bring her in here. She's originally from Trinidad and Tobago and been living in the States for a while. She'll talk a little bit about that, but the main thing is about the book today and her publishing company. Let me go ahead and bring in Nick in over here right now. All right. Good
Hi,
afternoon. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me and for having a couple of the co-authors from the book on as well. It's very much appreciated.
Awesome. Awesome. We appreciate you being here and having you out with that book and all that. Awesome. And then we're going to have some of your guests tell us a little bit about you in a couple of words or maybe 5 minutes or less. Yeah.
Sure. So I see that you touched on Trinidad. I was born and raised in Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean. I migrated to the United States, New York, when I was 19 years old. A suitcase full of clothes and $100 in my pocket. At that age, you don't want anybody to tell you that there's anything you can't do. Um, so I came. I got married very young, and I had a son. My son is 28, um, and I live on Long Island right now. I'm still in New York. I don't think I ever will move out of New York. Just about a little over 4 months ago, I did leave my job. A job that I loved very much, actually, working in the elevator industry. I've been in the skilled trades for about 12 years. And I decided that I was going to open my own publishing company. I realized from saying one to the next might seem like a crazy stretch, but it's not as much as a stretch as you would think. As we get on in the show, you'll see.
Nice. That's amazing. New York and Long Island. I've been there a couple of times. It's a nice place. And wow, that's amazing. You came in over there from your country. How old were you when you came in? You were like 18?
Yeah, just about 19.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Perfect. Good. I'll bring you on my other show, which is really know them, but this is more about your book and that. So tell us a little bit about how you got into book writing and your publishing company, which is Guiding Brilliant Writers Publishing LLC. What made you get into writing, basically, and starting your own company?
I want to say it was all an accident. It
Oh,
kind of was. It started with
it
an
always
accident,
is. It
actually.
always is an accident, right? It always is.
Yeah, that wasn't the plan. It started with an accident, truthfully. I popped onto the LinkedIn scene sometime in mid 22, and had just started a new job with an elevator company. 5 months in, I fell and I broke my left patella in 4 pieces on the job. And so major knee surgery put me out of commission for about 3 months. And while I was home going stir crazy, I started building my LinkedIn community. And one of my friends said, "Well, you love to write, so why don't you go write on Medium?" And I started writing on Medium. That was Thanksgiving of 2022. Um, that turned into an opportunity to write a chapter in an anthology March of 23. I then again wrote, I want to say around July of 23, again in September of 23 with two different publishers. So by December, I'd already had three anthologies I contributed to. I wanted to go to the next step, and I taught myself how to self publish. And I pulled together my own anthology, which launched December of 2023. A note to my family, I'm your legacy. Um, what did I know? We sold in 7 countries, number one international bestseller, over 280 copies, first try around. I realized that not only did I love writing, I loved being able to help people write their brilliant stories. That's the company, Guiding Brilliant Writers. The brilliance is not the writing, it's the stories. The writing we can learn. I could guide you in that. So at the end of 23, after publishing that book, I went full steam ahead last year. I decided to step up from an anthology with 21 to a simultaneously launched trilogy. So each of those books had 12 writers. There was 36 of us. I'll never attempt that again. I shouldn't say attempt because I did achieve it, but that was a 6-month project, and I was supposed to land August. It didn't land till October, and that was quickly followed up by the second annual Legacy Chronicles, December 24. So by December last year, I had already published 5 anthologies. I knew that I was going to eventually open a company. Did I know that it would happen at the beginning of this year? No, I didn't know that. I knew that I was working toward it. So, yeah, Guiding Brilliant Writers LLC was established at the beginning of this year.
Oh,
And
wow.
I'm working for myself, full time entrepreneur, as of the beginning of February. And July 1st, We Choose to Be More Than Our Diagnoses, which is what this show is about. And that one is the 6th anthology in 18 months.
Oh, amazing, amazing. So you just started that recently. That's within what, 6 months ago? You started this company. And when did you
Yeah.
start publishing? What year was that again when you published it? You started
My
publishing?
first anthology publication was December of 23.
December 23. Okay. So kind of when a lot of people were big on the LinkedIn environment and you decided to do that. Awesome, awesome. That's
Yeah,
great. Yeah, you have some guests in the audience here that I'm going to bring in. Um, let's bring them in, and then you can introduce them. And how are they helping you out in your book journey? I'll bring them out one at a time. Here,
sure.
let's start out with let's go with Crystal, and then I'll bring
Hi, Crystal.
also
Hi
we have
guys.
hi, welcome to the program, and then we also have
Mhm.
Marissa, right? Is that right? Did I say that right? Marissa.
Marissa.
Thank you. And tell me, Nick, how these two are involved with your company.
Mhm.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Well, there would be no anthology coming without authors writing their stories and contributing to the book. So these two young women here are friends of mine, and they are contributing to the book. And they've written with me before. So I have of the 16 of us writing, um, 8 new writers to the Guiding Brilliant Writers family, and 7 have written with me before, returning for the second or third time. And so Crystal and Marissa, I'll have them talk a little bit about their diagnoses, but the name of this anthology is We Choose to Be More Than Our Diagnoses. I'm bipolar. I refer to myself as a bipolar businesswoman. And this particular book, Legacies were one genre, right? And then the trilogy was a people first professional networking platform. It was all about LinkedIn. This book is very dear to my heart because I am bipolar, because I've had my life struggles, because I wake up every day and I take 3 medications um, to do what I do every day. That I really wanted to highlight people who are also diagnosed with something, stigmatized because of it, made to feel lesser than or they're incapable of. This book is the We Are Not Your Stigma book. That's what this book is. And so with that, I'm gonna let Crystal pop in if it's okay with you and introduce herself.
I just want to say that's amazing. With all of that you have, and you're still that's an inspiration, right? That people should be able to write no matter what they're going through, right? And people unfortunately don't. And yeah, go ahead. We're gonna go with you said Marissa.
She actually had said me,
Okay,
but
go ahead. Go ahead.
either way, if Marissa wants to go first,
Whoever, yeah, go ahead.
um,
Go ahead.
okay. Well, so just so you guys know, I am streaming to my channel. So most of you guys here know me as Crystal Phoenix. Our friends on LinkedIn know me as Crystal Bay. Um, and this book has been a dear project, long before I even decided to write in it. I had gone to Nick and told her, hey, I want to help promote. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do a chapter, but it's an amazing book. I love the concept. I want in, I want to help. And then literally a week before the rough drafts were due, I said, hey, I want in fully. And the chapter that I came out with does embrace the I am not my diagnosis, but it digs deeper for mine, because mine actually discusses the fact of not being properly diagnosed as a child and mental health kind of being ignored, and the subsequent things that happen because of that, and then being properly diagnosed as an adult with things that, looking back, should have been seen and recognized as a kid. And so my chapter, to me, I'm very proud of it, is very important because it shows not only how to embrace who we are in the various aspects. With me, I have ADHD, CPTSD, and am on the spectrum. I am neurosalty, I like to say, instead of spicy. I give it a different acronym depending on my mood. But the neurodiversity came about after trauma from an abusive relationship. And a few friends have read pieces of it when I was struggling. Indigo helped me kind of get past points. Sharon as well helped me like fine tune and stuff, who is another of our co-authors. And once I got past this one part, it just flowed. And being able to express those feelings from the misdiagnosis as a kid and help others is why it's so important. It did guide me in becoming Crystal Phoenix. And I give Nick credit for, where I've come so far in my advocacy and my speaking and everything, because beautiful Nick gave me my first shot on LinkedIn, as a co-host in her audio rooms, and then Aaron as a guest on his live. And just, we became a family. And when Nick said that she was doing this book, I was like, I'm in. And I went all in to the point where I even produced our theme song for it, which all of us writers, we have a surprise for when we launch the book. We will have a surprise when it comes to that, but we're keeping that part under wraps. You gotta drop those little breadcrumbs, though, sis. You know that.
You do. You have to keep people intrigued.
I want to ask you, what made you inspired to write stuff or like, I know, when we were younger, we're not into writing, but then all of a sudden you get inspiration. So what gave you that inspiration, Kristen?
Actually, on that one, you're wrong. Well, with me personally, okay. My mother was a stickler about penmanship, and she used to make me practice my penmanship. So I would write fiction stories.
Yeah.
As a child. But when, ironically, on LinkedIn, I met Lonnie Ray, and she was doing the Rattled Awake series. And I have participated in 3 Lonnie Ray books, and writing out my story in the first Rattled Awake that I did, volume 3, it really opened up a measure of healing for me that I didn't think I needed or was possible. And I ran with it. This will be book 9 for me. Wow.
Amazing.
I have published 2 myself. Nick and I are in the works of talking about doing another solo project for me, but it'll be more of a fiction kind of, think Law and Order SVU kind of story. But it's so healing knowing that sharing my story and of healing and everything, whether it's my mental health, whether it's about my domestic abuse, it helps others to see that they're not alone. And that is the biggest reason I do this.
Amazing,
Is
amazing.
because it not only helps me heal, but it also helps others see that they're not alone. They can heal, they can get out, or they can relate and see that they're not crazy. Because with the work that especially I do with domestic abuse awareness, a lot of survivors and victims feel like they're alone, that nobody sees it, anything. So that's really what kind of did it with the writing. I believe Lydia, who's in this book with us as well, was in the Rattled Awake that I wrote, actually. The first one. I know Lydia and I have been in a few projects together. Nick and I have been in a few projects together. Believe even Marissa and I have done a few things together. So it's just kind of, we all write together and just feel, and it just helps in a way that I never thought possible.
So it's more of like a coping mechanism. That's wonderful. That's
I wouldn't say coping, as more being able to move on.
Yeah.
It is almost like a therapy.
Yeah.
But for me, it works better than talk therapy.
Amazing. But our other third wonderful guest here is waiting. We want to hear what she says. Marissa, go ahead. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your
Hi.
involvement. Nick,
Hi. Yeah,
hello.
I was brought in to Nick's Legacy project by a mutual friend of ours, and but let me just back up. And then from Legacy, I decided to take part in this project. I wanted to stay involved and take part in this project. I thought it was awesome. But I started, I don't know what you specifically want to ask, but I'll just say this. I started writing. I mean, I've always been a writer of some sort. I have short stories, all kinds of short stories, and I want to come out with a book of short stories. That's probably another conversation, Nick. So I consider myself a writer, but specifically during the pandemic, I had met some people before I met Nick that were one of my people that I was working with back then was she just started giving us, like, we had writing class, like every Friday for like 2 hours we had writing class, and it was the pandemic, so it wasn't like people were going anywhere, if you know what I mean. So we had writing class, and then there was I met another editor through this friend who was giving writing classes, and that editor gave me two opportunities, I think 2 or 3 opportunities for me to write and get published during the pandemic. So I think this for me is book number 5, or anthology number 5. And I've been published before. Prior to all this, I was also an academic writer. So I was in another anthology before all this stuff as an academic writer. But I really like these anthologies because specifically because I get my creative juices flowing. So I really appreciate that.
Amazing. And then, during COVID, I think a lot of us had to do a change no matter what. And then that's when a lot of things, either for the good or the bad, happened at that time. Awesome. I guess we can go back to Nick now. And what are your words about what they said?
I'm just very proud of them. I know what it's like to have started this journey as well. And I did not start my writing journey until the beginning of 23. So it's just about 2 years for me as well. Um, and so much of what they shared is what this publishing company is about. It's about healing, empowerment, building self confidence. You know, this this book on diagnoses is so much more than overcoming the diagnoses. Like overcoming the diagnoses is that doesn't even begin to do justice. You know, we have people writing in the book about everything from diabetes one, CPTSD, ADHD, cerebral palsy, paraplegia, bipolar, lupus, chronic illness, chronic pain. All of these people, some were born with, some developed as for one reason or the other. Some had accidents. Uh, so there's a common thread in all. All struggled until they found that beginning of a path, if you will. And it is beginning of a path. You don't just go like that. Absolutely not. I love that Crystal is sharing that she was misdiagnosed. I have a couple of other authors who were medical malpractice is how they even ended up diagnosed. I have a couple of authors who had terrible um, accidents that should have rightfully taken their lives, and who have actually been brought to life on back to life on the table. So these stories, they have the medical aspect of it, the scientific aspect of it, the book aspect of it, but now you put in the personal aspect of it, the person, the things that they do, their rituals, their beliefs, their techniques, what they have adopted within their lifestyles in order to not cope. We are choosing to live our best life with this as an interesting part of us. This is not an appendage hanging off. I am bipolar. When I was first diagnosed with depression medication, I was struggling until 4 years ago that I was properly diagnosed with bipolar 2 and given a mixture of two antidepressants and a mood stabilizer. I was just getting through life. I was not functioning optimally as I am now. So, this book is meant to bring forth so much for people, including different things that you can try that some of the different authors have tried, different methods to work with what they're living with every day.
Amazing, amazing. I have maybe a couple of questions here, and then I guess we'll get into how people can get into writing a book and anthology kind of thing. But one main thing is there some particular person that reach out to you after reading your book and say, "Thank you, the book helped me." Is there any particular person other than our two wonderful guests here?
If you girls want to grab those, go ahead, and I will be more than happy to answer after as well.
Absolutely. I have had multiple people come to me about different chapters in different books that I participated in, and saying, thank you, you helped, whether it was a mental health book or when I shared about my abuse and the healing afterward. I've gained a few coaching clients from it because they wanted to be able to heal the way, not necessarily the way that I did, but start the steps of healing and going forward. I even had created my own anthology because of people coming to me wanting to share their stories because they were empowered by reading my books, Nick's books, because I promote everybody that I care about from LinkedIn and all of our stories because they all matter whether I'm in the book or not. I mean, every story matters. Every voice matters. And that is what we're doing here. And yeah, I do. I have people coming to me all the time, whether it's on YouTube, Facebook. most of the people on LinkedIn, they kind of just conglomerate all together. They'll reach out to both me and Nick. Kind of, we all run in the same circle at this point.
Yeah,
You
we
know?
have a lot of overlaps in our
Mhm.
circles, and then we're also often our own doing our own thing. But with an anthology, it's 21 of us, right?
Yep.
Including myself. This one is 16, including myself. But you get an opportunity to meet people outside of your immediate circle who now are in alignment with you because they have some of the similar stories to share. Not exactly your journey, but it's almost it's validating as well. Not that people should need validation, but at the end of the day, it is validating as well. I'm only human. I need to be validated in what I'm doing. And I will certainly share after about some of what's happened to me. But Marissa, what about you? Has anybody reached out to you?
Yeah, so I was gonna say after I had written in Legacy, I gave Legacy books out to friends and family also. Like I bought them and mailed them on purpose. But what that did was it opened a path within my family, and now my family is considering writing our own legacy book. So, and I would have never thought that as a possibility prior to my being in legacy and having my cousins read it and my aunt read it and my family read it. So outreach also comes in funny ways. Because you're giving the book out and like, you know, and people talk to you. And so that starts up like in my case, it started up a family conversation. If you don't mind for just a second, I, I was drawn to we are more than our diagnosis. Um, and I have to say, I'm a panzer. I don't know what I'm going to write until I sit down and write it. It's sort of like giving birth to the story. I don't plot at all. So, and at the time that I wrote my story, I bike ride. I bike ride frequently. So, and I had just done a bike race. And I talk about my diagnosis. But the way I chose to go about my story was I gave like hints. It's in there. I talk about it, but and at the end of the story, I was really thinking about it, but at the end of the story, and I wrote my story in third person. Um, and I, I sometimes watch writers um, uh, YouTube YouTubes, and I was trying to figure out what would be an interesting way to write this story and get it and be engaging. So I made I made myself a character, and the I don't want to give away the last line because it's really good, but I realized something about myself as I was writing the story, which everybody can find out later. but but yeah, there's a catharsis that happens when um, when one is writing a chapter or in an anthology or in any way, shape, or form writing. Yeah, we heal ourselves. And like I said, I don't think that I had like I'm not overcoming anything. I can't overcome necessarily physically, but I can look at myself differently. And if I inspire people, great. Um, that's awesome. But is that my first point of writing the story? No, I'm writing the story for me and for people who read it. That's awesome. I'm really happy.
Amazing, amazing. I want to go actually for those of people who don't know what an anthology is. What is the definition of that, and how can they start one? Nick, the best person to ask, right?
Yes. All right. So I'm gonna say what that is, but then I do want to jump back just for a minute, if it's okay with you,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I do
Go
want to
ahead.
say
Please do.
um, the things that could come out of being a part of a project like this, because I think people
Yeah.
get very confused sometimes as to
Yeah.
what this is.
Yeah.
So, an anthology is a compilation of stories brought together by different writers. Okay, and it's published all together. So, how many people are in the anthology? It's up to the publisher. How long the chapters are? It's up to the publisher. So, my first book was 1,500 words per chapter. This one is 3,500 words per chapter. When you take a book like Legacy and you're leaving a piece of yourself behind for your future generations, trying to put that down in 2,500 words is not easy, right?
Yeah.
So, as I have grown and my abilities have grown, the space allowed to write has grown as well. So I have gone from allowing a 1,500 word chapter to a 3,500 word chapter because I'm at that capacity now. Um, the beauty of an anthology is that you might be curious about writing. You might have said, oh, there's a book in me. I really want to write a book. No, I'm not a writer. No, I don't know if I could do that. It is very different when you contribute a chapter versus trying to write an entire book for the first time. It is a great way for you to get your feet wet and to know what's involved in the publishing process. It also gives you an opportunity to work with writers that are writing for the very first time, like yourself, and people that are seasoned. So, my books, once somebody joins an anthology with me, the playing field is level. It doesn't matter if you're writing for the first time or if you have 20 books, because I've had people who've written 20 books, published far more than I am, have years more experience than I am doing this. But everybody has their own method. And so Nick has her Nick method. I like my anthologies this way because I want the not so seasoned next to the seasoned, the one who can really describe, the one who's very straightforward. Because I think that's what keeps an anthology interesting. Why? Because we are different people. I don't want to turn the page and see the same thing time after time after time. So that's what an anthology is. It's a compilation of stories that the publisher puts together from all different people, and there's generally a central theme, right? That theme, however, with a lot of publishers would flow. I'm not looking for flow. I'm looking for you. I want your voice, your story. That's what's getting printed. The umbrella of the theme is there. But Omar is not going to look at a diagnosis the same way that Nick looks at a diagnosis, that Marissa looks at a diagnosis, that Crystal looks at a diagnosis. So I am not going to take the dictionary meaning of a diagnosis and go, quote unquote, this is what you're writing to. No, I don't think so. Right? This is about owning your story, and you can't own your story if you can't have your voice in your story. So that's what that is. Um, and just so you know, yes, to participate in these projects, it is a paid venture. I have to get paid for my time. I have to keep these lights on. Um, so it is paid, but you get dividends. And when I say dividends, I don't just mean being able to say you're now a published author. If we do well and every single book up there is a number one international bestseller behind me, if we hit that status, we're ecstatic. But just to put the story in and publish it is already enough for us, right? Getting it into the hands of one person whose life starts going to change is enough for us. That is just icing on the cake. This time around, in this very first anthology, the sixth, I have decided, and moving forward in all my anthologies, the first quarter sales, 90 days royalties will be split among the co-authors, not me, the publisher, among the co-authors. Will they recoup what they spent for a chapter? Probably not. They'll recoup some of it. I mean, you never know. We might hit the New York Times bestsellers list and we'll all be rich. Yay. But we'll all can still write because the writing was never about the money that we could potentially make, right? So you get to put this on your resume. You get to build a skill set. It helps with visibility. Every single one of these courses are coming on my show and we'll have a guest appearance, as you're so kind, on somebody else's show. There's a lot of promotion going on across all of my platforms. There is a merch page coming on July 1st. And only published authors would be able to wear that shirt that says, I'm published with Guiding Brilliant Writers. So, there is so much more that goes in to what people perceive is just a quick get rich scheme. Oh no, I did not leave my job to make a third of what I was making to get rich. Trust me. If you are not in it with all your heart, forget it. You ain't gonna succeed. I talk a lot, Omar. I'm sorry.
No, no, it's
Well, I'm
good.
not
It's
really
good.
sorry. I
I
just talk a
mean,
lot.
I'm
That's
going to
okay. That's
support
good.
Nick
That's
on that
good.
one. I even put it in the comments. All the
I was
work
gonna
that you
say,
put in as an editor and publisher, having done my own anthology, I still have nightmares of the formatting and having to edit and put everything together. I had to reformat it like 4 or 5 times because I had last minute changes from my writers and things like that. And it's hard. It's hard work. And yeah, you deserve to be paid for that work. I mean, you're doing a lot more than some of the publishers do by offering us, you know, some royalties and everything. You know, the other anthologies that I've taken part in, we weren't offered royalties or anything like that. You know, so you're doing a lot more for us by even offering that, which really
Thank you.
appreciate it. You
Building a
know,
framework. We all find
yeah,
our a little ways, right, Omar? No matter if we're
yeah,
in the same industry, we all find our little spin to put on it. That's our mark.
yeah.
amazing.
And
Sorry, Omar.
also,
I was gonna say also, we have so many comments here. We can't even go all of them. We'll be here until tomorrow. But wonderful guests here. We all know who they are, but I just show them on the board for people to see. So amazing. So basically, what you mentioned is everybody has a certain chapter. They put it together, and those are all the people behind you there. Those are all the people who are the writers. That's amazing. You have 21 people, you said? They look more. How many people are behind
There. So I did 5 anthologies altogether. There are 62 co-authors
you?
behind
62.
me that I've published.
Uh-huh.
There would have been more, but some of these people I'll come back for the second and third time. So of course their picture is not up there 2 and 3 times.
Yeah.
And by the time we launched July 1st, another 8 new faces would be added there as well. And I actually have several solo projects this year. That meaning this is not an anthology. This is a full book that has been written by an author that are also going to be up there. There was a question by Zarar. I'm sorry that I caught out
Yeah,
my
let me go
eye.
back. I think it's this one here. Uh,
Right. So it's not 25 chapters per person. So there are 21 chapters within the book. The table of contents reach chapter 1 by Crystal B, chapter 2 by Marissa, chapter 3 by Nicole, blah blah blah. And each chapter is a maximum of 2,500 words or something like that.
amazing.
Um, I'm sorry, I talk very fast, Sarah. I will slow down.
Oh, you're good. You're good. I mean, we're almost at an hour here. What if somebody says one day he woke up, it's a beautiful day, he smelled the flower, and says, "I want to do an anthology." What's the steps? Who wants to tackle that one?
Well, it's interesting that you would ask that question. Um, uh, Before I jump in, I have to say, so just thank you so much. There's so many people in the audience, and I see you all. And I want to say at least half the people in here are actually co-authors in this book. I would love to shout each and every one of you out, but you know who you are, and you know that we represent you up here
And I was
110%.
gonna say we put all their comments out there. We'll be here until tomorrow then, if we mention everybody. But glad they're here.
No, we can't.
Yeah, amazing.
So
Yeah,
the steps to an anthology. Wow, you want me to give away my trade secrets? Then like, how am I going to make money? I'm just kidding.
no.
I'm like the
listen
most
now.
open person in the world. I'm like the most open person in the world. I could care
Yeah,
less.
I want to know some of these trade
Yeah.
secrets.
You do not hold knowledge to your chest. That's the worst thing you could do.
I know.
Because you become
I'm just
selfish and
teasing.
bitter, and that is not the way that you run a business. So honestly, I sit down here and I come up with an idea for a title. It just hits me.
Mhm.
And then I say to myself, I'm going to put out a co-authors call. I
Yep.
sit and I think about the vision and how it is I want to pitch this, if you will, right? My elevator pitch. And I do that. It resonates. People call and say, I want to be a part of it. I have an entire outline of what it is you get for your dollars. I have a document that's your writing expectations. This is how you need to present it. This is the timelines. This is when the draft is due. This is when we have Zoom calls. My authors know that they can call me 24/7, 7 days a week. I'm far more than a publisher. I am in many times a therapist, a best friend, uh, somebody to lean on. Um, and it's not a matter of handholding because there's zero handholding in this. This is not anybody that writes with me would tell you that I'm terrible. Like I'm not a monster, but I hold people accountable and I hold myself to the same accountability. So if you're due tomorrow, I'm due tomorrow too. So there's a lot that goes into an anthology. And I think that my years of being in project management is a transferable skill because I am able to now rein in 35 other people with me and go, listen, deadlines, promotion, let's go, let's go, let's go. And that takes a very high level of self motivation because I can't fall down on my motivation. I have 35 other people to motivate. Right.
Nice.
And again, it comes back to one thing. If your heart is not in this, if this is not the reason you wake up every day, you will not succeed. There are gazillion publishers out there that charge 10 times what I do and 10 times less than I do. So
Amazing. That means you can handle stress okay then, right?
I have become much better at it. Oh, thank God for my mood stabilizers. I'm just kidding. But no, seriously.
Yeah, Marisha, if you would like to say a few words on
Yeah,
that.
Sorry,
I
Marissa. Sorry.
Go
I'll
ahead.
try to make this brief, but I just
Please.
want to say yes. I said yes to writing an anthology, just like all my brilliant co-authors did. Thank you, Sharon Byrne, for the connection. But I also wanted to say that we're here. Like I said, we're here because we chose to write in the anthology and other anthologies. But also outside of that, I've gotten to know so many people that like I really feel connected to this group of people, and we've done projects together and things like that. And so that's a secondary byproduct of it. Did I plan to do that? Was that my first thought? No, never. But I've gotten to know people that have been in anthologies through this group, and it's awesome. So, and for me, that's even bigger than the chapter itself.
That's awesome. Let's go with Crystal.
Sorry, I was actually trying to keep up with the chat for a second, but I was thinking, well, Nick, maybe you need to send me one or two of those mood stabilizers with all of our projects and everything. Share the love here. And honestly, when it comes to this, I really do encourage people to write in an anthology if it speaks to them, especially as a first-time writer, because like Nick said, you are writing with people that have similar stories but not the same, because like Nick said, it's an umbrella. It's a general topic but your own take on it, and you do build bonds. The bond that I have built with Sharon, for example, when we first met, has become such a really strong bond. And it all started with writing in an anthology. Me having experience in writing in an anthology, and her having experience as a writer, but not as an anthology. And we got to know each other very well. And now she's one of my dearest friends. I consider her my sister. I also consider she keeps me in line in ways that a lot of people don't know how to do. And if it wasn't for writing in an anthology, I don't know if I would have met her. And, so you do build that bond. I had a really good bond with Nick through doing audio rooms. And that's how I got introduced to a lot of this stuff. I was actually in the trilogy as well with Nick. And, it builds a bond with your co-writers that you wouldn't have had, and a support system going through the writing process. That when you're writing a solo project, you don't necessarily have. So when you're first starting out wanting to become a professional writer, I do encourage doing an anthology first, because it helps you fine-tune your writing style, because you have people that are experienced that can help you along the way. In fact, I'm rewriting my first solo book now that I have written a lot more, I'm going back and I'm going to be releasing a second edition because I realized that I've grown in the way that I tell my stories and that I can do it better. So I'm going to release a second edition. So to me, being in an anthology, you build a community, but it also helps you find your own writing styles and things like that. And there's a lot less pressure
Yes.
on you.
Absolutely, a lot less pressure is correct. So, Omar, I think that what we should do is have Omar come and write in Legacy 2025. That's what
Yeah.
I think.
Why not? Why not? That would be
Why
great.
not?
With that, can
Nicole,
you tell us all what this is here? You had sent this to me. Tell people what this is.
so this here is the simultaneously launched trilogy. It started out as a project for 21 people, and it was supposed to be a LinkedIn love affair. LinkedIn would not allow me to use the LinkedIn trademark, so I had to change to a people first professional networking platform. That's okay, no problem. After we filled up rather quickly, people kept asking me, is this still open? So I took it from trilogy with 21 into a trilogy, 12 people in each book. I was able to open up 15 more spots, and we ran with 36. It was 6 months. I almost had no hair when we were done, but we made it to where we were going, and all those gold stars up there. Yeah, book one, why we came, why we stay. Book two, we came as people, we make came as professionals, we make impact as people. Book three is how we found our purpose and started a business. Just so you know, every single one of those books hit in the categories they were meant to. This green book, for example, hit in starting a business online. Okay. Um, book two, that one actually hit in self help, motivation, and inspiration. So even though it was a trilogy and the theme was LinkedIn and what this platform has done for us, it was separated by why we came, why we stayed. People knew it to the platform. The second one, people who showed up to the platform as professionals, because everybody comes here as a professional. But most times, if you stick around, you end up making impact as a person, which is what I hope that I do now. And then the last one, which was how you found your purpose and started a business. And that's what LinkedIn did for me. I came here and I found a purpose and I started a business. Trust me, when I signed up for premium, I didn't think I was going to become a business owner. Most certainly not. So that's what this is here.
Nice, amazing, amazing.
And
Closing thoughts, because we're gonna end here in the hour. Let's go with
yeah,
Marissa.
Um, well, and this for me, this project, um, I had a very specific way I wanted to bring about my story. Um, I I had an idea and I put it forward, and I think that happens where for me in every anthology. Um, and I think about things and I'm like, what about this? What about that? And like I said before, if I inspire in the process of that happening, great. And spreading the word, having shows. Thank you, Omar, for having your show.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it because we appreciate spreading the word and helping Nick grow and bringing other writers in. So thanks a lot.
Absolutely, privileged to have new people on here as well. Crystal, let's go to you. We're gonna go from the bottom up, and then I'm
Well,
gonna show you your book launch for July first in a second here. Okay, go ahead, Crystal.
I want to say thank you to everybody, both on LinkedIn and on YouTube, for joining us. You guys have given a lot of great insights. I love both of my communities. Thank you for supporting. And again, for my YouTube community, I did link both of Omar's channels, which he told me one of them is a cool trivia one. So guys,
Super
please let's support him and do what we do best and share and subscribe, because that's why I love you guys. We all support each other so much, whether it's on LinkedIn or the YouTube community that I can't say I've built, but that have supported and uplifted me in a lot of ways that my LinkedIn community have. So I want to say thank you. I'm really excited for July 1st. I can't wait. And this is gonna be an amazing book. The stories are so great.
Interesting
So-
you mentioned July 1st. All of a sudden it popped up here. It populated. So I don't know how that happened, but there you go. There's magic here. Magic thing. Thank you for that. And Nick, go ahead. Thank you. Your closing thoughts and tell us about this.
Well, there we go. Ta-da! This is the anthology that is launching July 1st. We choose to be more than our diagnoses. We have 16 writers. Their pictures are all up there. And we are not just stigma. I will say this, that Guiding Brilliant Writers, we're not about books. We're about people. No people, no stories. No stories, no books. Starting July 10th, we will be offering, myself along with Brenda Lisa Costa, a program called Intention to Ink. This is a free Zoom call. All are welcome, Wednesdays at 5 p.m. You come in, we do 5 minutes guided meditation, we get ourselves focused, we do focused writing for 45 minutes, and at the end, if you have any questions, I'm there to help. When you're about the stories, it's about getting the stories out. It doesn't matter whether or not you're published with me. There are a million publishers. I will gently recommend to everyone to give yourself the experience of being published at least once in your lifetime. When we write the book about legacy and we wonder what we will leave our generations, 10 times removed from now, when somebody picks up a book and says, that was my great, great, great ex-great grandmother who wrote this, remember that your words are going to be there in print forever, right? Sign that book, sign it with love, sign it with the wisdom that you're passing down. And please come support our launch on July 1st. But I will ask you this. If you purchase this book, do the justice and honor to the writers of actually reading their stories. Don't buy it in pocket. If you're going to buy it in pocket, don't even bother. I know I just said that. Sorry. I know like I'm eating into royalties, but that's not the point. The point is these people have worked very hard, and myself included. There's a lot of scabs ripping off. There's a lot of wounds being open again. Every single time you do this. But every single time you do this, you heal more afterward. So, we come here with our hearts. Thank you, Omar, for having us.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And today we learned a lot. What is an anthology? We learned about how to start a book. And also I was invited to help you guys and write a chapter, right? So hopefully I'll do that. It'll be good. Yeah. Thank you guys. It's been great. We're going to be back again, actually, next month with another book writer. You're going to find out who that is. So, and then also watch my game show airing Mondays with kids and other episodes coming in. Excited. Have a good summer, everybody. Thank you, guys. I'm going to go ahead and end the stream now. Anybody have any last minute words?
Thank you guys, and see you soon, whether it's on LinkedIn or Crystal Phoenix Rising. Love you all.
And
Thank
again,
you.
3, 2,